Hello aspirants, welcome to another video of the daily news analysis. This video is brought to you by Gurudev Academy. My name is Ashwin. Let us look at the topics that we are going to cover today. These are the topics that we are going to cover in our video today. First of all, the first topic that we are going to do today is center has new data on child labor. No new data on child labor. See, here the article says that the center has been relying on the data that has been provided in the 2011 census. Okay, 2011 census, and since then there has been no new data collection about the child labor. Right? First of all, we should know there are various issues that we are going to read with regard to child labor, but first we will look at what child labor is exactly. So when we look at the definition, child labor is often defined as the work that deprives children of their childhood, their potential and their dignity, and it is harmful to the physical and mental development. Okay, child labor is not just about the physical work that we talk about, it is related to the social aspects, it is related to the mental dimensions as well. So what are the provisions in the Constitution? Constitution has one of the important provisions, that is the fundamental right, Article 24. It says that under the age of 14 years, no children should be employed in factory, mine, hazardous employment. Okay, so this is one of the important provision. It provides the fundamental rights against child labor. Then moving on. So this is the data from 2011. So according to 2011 data, there are 10.1 million children engaged in work in India. And which state has the highest? UP. Okay. UP is the state where the child labor is most prevalent. Okay, and when we look at the data according to the gender, when we differentiate according to the gender, the boys are 5.6 million that are employed, and among girls it is 4.5 million. Right? So this is the data that is from your 2011 census. Moving ahead, see, the government has been working very hard to eliminate child labor from our society. There are few of the acts and policies that the government has launched over the years to curb the menace of child labor here. We will look at it one by one. I'll just give the in detail some of them. Not every policy is important. So first, looking at it, the protection of child labor. So Prevention and Rehabilitation Amendment Act of 2016, when we look at it, the act says here that below the age of 14 years, okay, below the age of 14 years, again, no children should be employed in hazardous occupations, mines, chemical fields and all. Okay, but there is one important provision that you have to know here, that here the children can be employed in after school. Okay, after school only in family establishments which are non-hazardous. Okay, so here the children can be employed in after school. Okay, according to this act, what the act says that the children can be employed in family establishments, but that also in non-hazardous industries only. Right? Then we had this National Policy of Child Labor 1987. The third one, Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015. Then the National Child Labor Project. See, this is the one that is mentioned in your article that is given today in the today's newspaper. The article says that this NCLP scheme is being merged with the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, that is Right to Education Act, that is there. So here this National Child Labor Project Act, this National Child Labor Project scheme of 2007. The aim here is, so the children between the age group of 9 to 14. So whoever are employed in child labor, those children will be rehabilitated. Okay, and reskilling, providing them with care, okay, education, okay, then housing, living facilities and all. These are provided under the NCLP scheme, very important scheme here. Then we have the Right to Education Act of 2019, which guarantees what? It guarantees the education for the age group of 6 to 14 years. Your education is not only a fundamental right, it is also a DPSP, it is also for your fundamental duty. Then Pencil portal. See, this portal is very important. It has been launched in 2017. 2017, this portal is working mainly for child labor free society. Okay, Pencil portal. It is working exclusively for child labor free society. Here, this pencil portal is being implemented to support the NCLP scheme. Okay, it is being implemented to support the NCLP scheme. Then in the last we have ILO. Okay, India has ratified two important provisions of ILO, that is number 138 and number 182. ILO we mean International Labour Organization. These two provisions, these two conventions, okay, these two conventions are targeting child labor. Fine. So India has recently ratified this. This is what you have to look into in today's article. Moving on to the next article. See, another important article. This is from your economic section. So it says that industrial output jumps by 19.6%. Okay, so here you have to understand how do we calculate industrial output, what do we mean by industrial output, and what is the source of the data. Okay, so here industrial output, we mean that the growth of the industry over a month. Okay, that is how much output is there, how much production is being done in a particular industry. In India, we calculate this industrial output using index of industrial production. Okay, index of industrial production. So it is an indicator that measures the change in the volume of production. Okay, please keep it in mind. The volume of production is calculated here of industrial products during a given period. Here it is calculated per month. Okay, so the IIP data is released every month. So the data, the numbers does not become important for you. You have to know what IIP here is. Okay, fine. Then it is compiled and published monthly by the NSO, that is your National Statistical Office. Then it is a composite indicator that measures the growth rate of industry group classified under three main categories. Okay, mining, manufacturing and electricity. Right. So all the important industries which are there, they are clubbed. Okay, they are grouped together in these three categories: mining, manufacturing and electricity, and how much output is there in these industries is being calculated here. That is all about your IIP. Then this is from your editorial section. The scale of municipality finance is inadequate. See, the ULBs, the urban local bodies, have always been suffering from deficit of finances. Okay, because of the deficit of finances, there are so many projects and works that these urban local bodies are not able to fulfill. Fine. So we will look into the issues, what the issues are, and we will try to see if there are some solutions as well. So when we look at it, first of all, the urban local bodies have been constituted in India under the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1972. Fine. They come under your Schedule 11. Okay. They come under your Schedule 11. Then the source of ULB funds, the source of urban local body funds, when we look at it, see, the source of urban local bodies here, first of all, there are four sources, that is own revenue, your intergovernmental transfers, tax revenue, and operational and maintenance fees that everyone pays. Okay, in every city it is present. Operational and maintenance fees, example, we pay for water bills. Okay, your sanitation, whatever they are, so they come under your operational and maintenance bills. Sorry, this is 12th schedule. Okay. Sorry. So moving on. Here, we will look at each of the source of these funds and we will look at what the issues are here. So firstly, we will look at the dependence on IGT, that is dependence on intergovernmental transfers. There are two types of intergovernmental transfers that happen, that is your center as well as state. The center, what it does is every 5 years a finance commission is formed. Finance commission, what it does, it gives a formula on which it recommends a formula on which the shares of taxes and all the revenue is to be divided between the center and the state. Okay, this is what the work of finance commission is. But it also recommends what? It also recommends the devolution that has to happen, the transfer of fund. By devolution we mean transfer of funds that has to happen to the urban local bodies as well. Presently, the Finance Commission says that 41% has to be devolved to the states from the center. Okay, center has to give 41% to the states here. So we look at what the issue here is. Firstly, when we look at intergovernmental transfers, when it comes to the center transfers funds to urban local bodies through the finance commission as well as special grants. There are special grants given, and then through the states we have something called as grant in aids, as then the devolution of states collections and local taxes. See, the states here have the special power when it comes to financial decentralization. Okay, so the states have the power to share whatever the financial powers are there. The state has the power to decide on which taxes the urban local body should be collecting and which taxes the state has to be collecting. It differs in every state. Fine. So when we look at it, when we look at the issue here is that the dependence is around 40% of the total revenue. Okay, so whatever the total revenue these urban local bodies have, 40% is coming from where? It is coming from this governmental transfers. Then it is in total 0.5% of total GDP. Okay, that is very less when we compare to the international average, which is around 2 to 5%. This is very less. Because of this, because of the lack of funds here, the urban local bodies, as I mentioned earlier, they don't have enough power or resources to implement some of the main developmental works. Right? Then we look at tax revenue. Okay, so tax revenue. These urban local bodies, they collect some form of taxes. For example, entertainment tax. Okay. Entertainment tax. See, this tax revenue over the years, okay, it is very less. Now when we look at when we divide cities, okay, according to its population, it is mentioned in the article there, so that the cities are mentioned in 3 ways, that is your class 1A, class 1B, class 1C. So class 1A, which are 50 lakh okay, population cities. Okay, so these cities, they collect their own revenue, they collect their own taxes. So when the tax base is high, okay, when the people who are giving tax are high, what will happen is the class 1A, that is the higher population cities which are collecting their own tax revenue, they are less dependent on the revenue that is coming from the IGT, that is your intergovernmental transfers. But when we look at the class 1B and class 1C here, okay, the class 1B and class 1C, the tax base is very low, the people who are paying taxes are very less. That is why they are mostly dependent on the IGTs, and IGTs, the intergovernmental transfers, are never stable, okay, because they vary every year and it depends on how much of the devolution power the state government is giving here in particular. Then moving ahead, there is one more issue, that is your operational and maintenance cost. See, this operational and maintenance costs are mainly brought up or collected, okay, or collected, as I mentioned previously. It is collected mainly for your water, sanitation, okay, these all infrastructures. They are collected in 2 ways, that is your they are collected because of 2 reasons, that is upkeep of the infrastructure. Okay, there is already an infrastructure built up to provide you facilities and all the other services like the water services and all. So to upkeep this, to the maintenance of this infrastructure, this operational and maintenance cost is collected. Another is the maintenance of quality of service. Okay, so the quality of service that is being provided by the urban local bodies, to maintain that, these O&Ms are also collected. Hence, moving ahead, when we look at the overall article, we realize that the financial powers as well as the funds that are available to these urban local bodies are insufficient. Okay, they are overall very insufficient. We have looked at the data, we have looked at the number. We also I missed one data here that I'll mention. See, this O&M. See, for every urban local bodies, it is calculated that the expenditure cost is around 35%. Fine. So it is 35%. So such data shows us how much the funds are very less for these urban local bodies to maintain the quality of services. Fine. So the article at the end, it provides us with few solutions. It says that tapping into taxes and user charges are important. See, some of the urban local bodies in our country are finding it very hard to collect property taxes and other land resource taxes. Okay, so when such taxes are being collected, the state government as well has to devolve more power to the urban local bodies. See, this has been an issue always. When you look at it historically, the urban local bodies are not given more of powers, financial powers. Decentralization is not completely done yet because some of the state governments are very apprehensive. Okay, they are apprehensive of giving more powers to these urban local bodies. So states. Okay, the states have to be more active and should think way forward to giving more financial powers to these urban local bodies. Secondly, it says that stable support from IGTs. We have seen this, how much these class 1B and class 1C cities, they depend on these intergovernmental transfers. Okay, so these intergovernmental transfers, again same point, they have to be very stable. Okay, they have to be stable and they have to be constructive as well when they are being given to these cities. Then O&M expenses. Okay, O&M expenses, again, as we look in the first solution, it is the same solution here as well. The urban local bodies have to be more active in collection of these O&M expenses as well. Okay, this is all about this article. Moving ahead, this is again an editorial. In this editorial, it is talking about create more jobs. Create more jobs, revamp employment policy. Okay, so in this article, in briefly, the writers have discussed what is the unemployment problem that is present in our country, as well as they have given some solutions as well. We'll look at it. First of all, what the article starts with it says that the government is planning to create 10 lakh jobs in next 18 months. Okay, this has been the government policy. It has been announced few months back. But what is the problem when there is a shortage of workforce? There are three problems. First of all, there is a long delay of work. There is a lot of corruption that is involved, as well as inefficiency. The article also mentions that there in total, when we look at all the departments of the government and also on other sectors, we realize that the total vacancy is around 30 lakh. So what the government is planning of 10 lakh jobs is nowhere sufficient of how much of the vacancies are present. Fine. Then we look at the problems. We start with the workforce. Okay, there are two type of workforce that the article mentions, that is your contractual workers as well as honorary workers. Fine. So contractual workers, there has been a rapid increase in the contractual workers in the system, in the government employment as well as in the private sector. There has been a rapid increase. Secondly, there are some honorary workers. By honorary workers, we mean that ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers. Okay, these are honorary workers. What is the issue related to this workforce? When we look at it, the issue that is related to is the low salary as well as decent work conditions. Okay, there is a lack of decent work conditions for them. See, last year only we have seen we had this huge protest that was done by these ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers. They were demanding the same issues, that the salaries that is being paid to them is very less, as well as the working condition is not decent for them. Fine. So this is the issue firstly mentioned in the article. Secondly, it talks about the labor force participation rate. So what is labor force participation rate? First of all, the labor force participation rate is employed plus looking for jobs. Okay, looking for jobs in the age group of 15 to 64 years. Okay, in the age group of 15 to 64 years, whoever is employed as well as whoever is looking for job, such population is considered as labor force participation rate. At present, it is 42.13%. Okay, at present it is 42.13%, but the unemployment rate here is around 20% plus the additional backlog that is present. Fine. So whatever, again here the article highlights that whatever the 10 lakh jobs that the government is trying to create, it is nowhere sufficient when we consider the unemployment rate here. Next, we looked at the government sector. The article also mentions about the performance of the private sector here. See, the private sector is being dismal. It is inefficient and it has not been up to the task when it comes to creating more jobs in private sector. Why? Because the private sector is already suffering because of the pandemic. Since pandemic, the consumption rate in our country has not increased. Because of the low consumption rate, the production levels are already at very low. Okay, and also combine this with the inflation rates that is going on. So what is generally happening? Because of all these conditions, the private sector is increasing profit margin. It is increasing profit margin by how? by cutting costs. Okay, how it is cutting cost? It is laying off a large number of workers. You may be aware how much of the workers are being laid off at one time in all these major private organizations and private industries. Fine. So these are the issues that comes when we look at the employment and unemployment problems in India. So these are the issues. The writer at the end, they have given some of the solutions. We will look at the solutions one by one. So this says that more employment within the government sector. Fine. So when there is more employment created in this government sector, what happens is the vacancies that are already present in the government sector, it will go down. Okay, it is one of the options. It is one of the solutions that is mentioned in the article. Secondly, it says that focus on basic needs. Okay, focus on basic needs. By that we mean that education, health, sanitation. Fine. When the government focuses on the basic needs, what happens is there is increase in human development. Okay, the human development is increased. This is very good for us. This is what is the need of the hour. Fine. So what is the benefit of it? See, when you are providing them with basic needs, for example, when we provide them with education, what happens is there is upskilling of a worker. Fine. If an unemployed worker, he is provided with upskillings, he is provided with skill courses, he is upskilled, he can start his own business, he can work in some other sector. Fine. So these are the issues that the government should be focusing on. Thirdly, it says that reorient industrial policy to focus on labor intensive sector and to promote MSMEs as well as informal production. Fine. So when we look at it, the writer here says that when the government has to focus on labor intensive sectors, it also says about promoting MSMEs. See, why MSMEs should be promoted, why the government also is trying so hard to promote MSMEs is MSMEs can be started with very low investments and also they are labor intensive sectors. Fine. So MSMEs can employ more people here. That is why the government has already launched a lot of schemes to improve the conditions of MSMEs here. As well as the article says about informal production. See, you must be aware, you will be aware about how much of the workforce is employed in informal sector. Fine. So when we are improving the conditions of informal sector, there is naturally growth of jobs there as well. That is what the writer is saying here. How can these labor intensive sectors be promoted? By two ways, that is better technology as well as providing them with incentives and financial support. Fine. Lastly, they talk about urban employment scheme. See, we already have a rural employment scheme going on, that is Manrega scheme, that is your Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Scheme. This scheme worked and helped a lot during the time of pandemic, because when there was a large scale of migration from urban to rural areas, these rural area population, they employed themselves mainly in the Manrega scheme. Fine. So when they were employed there, what generally happened is they were provided with job security as well as they were provided with wages and other facilities. So such type of schemes should be employed in urban cities as well. That is what the writer is arguing here. But the employment scheme that is there in rural areas has to be different in urban areas in few conditions. That is, first of all, they have to be provided with basic urban services. Basic urban services like you can say about housing facilities, sanitation facilities, transport facilities. Okay, so such facilities are important in cities when we compare to the rural areas. Fine. So such things have to be taken care of. Secondly, daycare centers. Why? Because when we look at the people residing in urban areas, they are mostly nuclear families. Fine. So these nuclear families, when they have a young kid in their homes, they cannot go and work easily. So when the government tries to provide with daycare centers, then the women as well as men can work freely, knowing that their child is being taken care in the daycare centers. Lastly, it talks about quality urban life. Again, very important, because if quality urban life is not provided, then the workers are not motivated to work themselves. Fine. So these are the issues, these are the solutions that have been given here. So this is all. This is about today's newspaper. I hope you have understood whatever articles we have tried to make you understand. At the end, we are going to add few prelims based questions. So you can write the answers to these questions in the comment section, and the questions will be discussed tomorrow. Okay, we will discuss that in tomorrow videos. So please do write in our comment section, and you can follow us on these social media handles. You can follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, as well as on Facebook. Thank you. See you all.